Welcome to my pre-raid gearing guide for Fury Warrior in the Burning Crusade patch 2.4.3. Before we start, I'm going to give some disclaimers. Some of the crafted items in the list, such as raid steel, were not originally added until several months after TBC launched, and it's possible they will not be available immediately in Classic. But I'll go through multiple item options for each slot, starting with the ideal choices. I will also not be counting the world boss drops. They do count as raid drops, and they were also limited to 1 kill per server. I'll mention the occasional level 60 item, but on the whole I will assume you are a fresh player going into Outland. So, first up, helmets. A big change in TBC was the introduction of the gem slots, and most importantly the meta socket. Due to the value of the relentless earthstorm diamond offering 12 agility and 3% critical strike damage, helmets with a meta socket are far more powerful than helmets without. The Furious Gizmatic Goggles. Available only to engineers, it's the strongest helmet for all of tier 4 and most of tier 5. Being equipable at level 62 while being comparable with tier 5 helmet. This makes engineering quite an attractive option, particularly to warriors who will also be doing a bit of tanking. With Blizzard discussing a change to leatherworking drums in Classic, we may see engineering become a strong secondary option for Fury warriors. For the non-engineers, first up, it's the Mask of the Deceiver. Like many items on this list, it's a leather piece and is purchased for 50 badges of justice. That said, it's not your first priority with the badges, and you may end up just going straight for tier 4. The Wastewalker Helm drops from the final boss of Old Hillsbrad Foothills, and it's our third choice. That said, it's only marginally better than the next option when not considering the Wastewalker 2-set bonus. And finally, the easiest and most common pre-raid choice is the Helm of the Claw, a reward for completing the Warlord's Hideout quest in the normal mode Steam Vaults. Moving onwards to the next slot. There are a bunch of decent workable neck choices, but these are typically the most valuable and desired. First and best option for all of tier 4 is the Choker of Vile Intent. Purchased for 25 badges, this neck will be your first choice until tier 5 is available, though it's only marginally ahead of the other options on the list. The Adamantine Chain of the Unbroken drops from the final boss of Heroic Slave Pens. It's a valid secondary option if you feel you've got enough hit on the other slots and you would prefer to have some more crit. Natasha's Choker, a quest reward from the Hound Master quest in the Blade's Edge Mountains. It's roughly equal with the second option in terms of DPS value, but it provides no stamina. Finally, we have the Traitor's Noose. This neck also drops from Heroic Slave Pens and offers a nice balance of stats. That said, it is slightly behind the other choices. We're moving on to my favourite statement piece, the Shoulders. And really the choice is pretty clear cut. The Wage Steel Blacksmithing crafted BOE shoulders are on par with tier 4. For blacksmiths, they also provide a 20 hit rating bonus when combined with another Rage Steel piece. These would likely be with you well into tier 5, but Blizzard may decide to restrict these at launch. Our next choice are the Wastewalker shoulder pads. They drop from Heroic Orkanai Crypts, and if we have another Wastewalker piece equipped, we get a nice set bonus of 35 hit rating. Our third option would be the Doomplate shoulder guards. They drop in Heroic Underbog, and they also offer a 35 hit rating 2-set bonus when combined with another Doomplate piece. Now we're looking at cloaks. Vengeance Wrap is a tailoring crafted BOE, and a pattern is a random world drop. It may be tricky to find a crafter in the early weeks of TBC launch, but since the cloak will remain with you until Black Temple, you can afford to wait. Second up, we've got Cloak of Darkness. Cloak of Darkness is a leatherworking crafted BOE, and since it requires the crafter to be exalted with the Violet Eye, it's technically not a pre-raid item. That said, it will be easily available within the first few weeks of TBC. Compared to Vengeance Wrap, it gives up a very minor amount of DPS stat and provides an additional 25 stamina. Next, we've got Cloak of the Inciter. It drops in normal Shadow Labs, and it's the default easy farm pre-raid option. As a Fury warrior, you should move straight from this one to one of the previously mentioned crafted epics, rather than looting one of the cloaks from Therodon's Lair or Karazhan. Now, we're looking at chest pieces, and there's a lot to unpack. Technically, the best chest piece option is the Breastplate / Bulwark of Kings, the blacksmith's armorsmithing specialization item. The stage 1 version of the chest is available from the basic crafting materials and is already slightly superior to the tier 4 chest. The stage 2 version of the chest requires primal nethers from Heroic Dungeon end bosses and is the strongest armour available in tier 4. Additionally, it has a 30-minute on use, providing 150 strength and 1500 HP for 15 seconds, which, like Recklessness, provides a powerful temporary damage boost on a very long cooldown. In Tier 5, it's upgraded again with nether vortexes and is superior to anything available prior to Tier 6, even without considering the situational value of the 30-minute on use. With all that said, we are generally more interested in the weaponsmithing items from blacksmithing, and thus the Bulwark of Ancient Kings will not be a popular choice. So I'm moving onwards to the popular choice. The Shadow Prowler's Chest Guard requires the crafter to be revered with a violet eye, so it's technically not a pre-raid item. That said, it will easily be available within the first few weeks of TBC, and it is the ideal choice. With Tier 4 potentially being in higher demand from other classes, and the World Boss drop Terrorweave Tunic being in extremely short supply, this is probably your ideal choice. Next up, we've got Primal Strike Vest, the Elemental Leatherworking Specialization piece. While it is the next strongest choice, I don't think it's really worthwhile to pursue, but I thought I'd list it anyway. Next up, we've got the Chest Guard of Exile. It's a BOE world drop, and it will likely be seen on the auction house in the early weeks of TBC. Now, I wouldn't recommend you spend your gold on this, but that is exactly what I did do in 2007, the day I hit level 70. Setting aside my poor life choices, next up we've got the Rage Steel Breastplate. If it's available on launch, it offers almost identical DPS value to the Chest Guard of Exile, but without the stamina. But if you are a blacksmith, you can pair it with the shoulders and provide yourself with 20 hit rating bonus, which is pretty decent. Next up we've got a quest reward, the Chestplate of Adal, rewarded from the special delivery to Shatrath City quest, which is part of the Netherstorm quest chain to get the key to Alcatraz. Pretty popular pre-raid choice, pretty easy to get. Speaking of Alcatraz, we've got the Doomplate Chest Guard. This drops from normal mode Alcatraz and it's marginally worse than the previous option, but if you are pairing it with another Doomplate item, you get the 35 hit rating bonus, which is quite decent. Then you've got the Crimson Forge Breastplate and the Wastewalker Tunic that fall just behind, and then beyond that we've got like the level 60 drops from Nax. Now we're going to move on to the Bracer slot. The best pre-raid bracers are the Black Fell Steel Bracers, which is a blacksmithing BOE. The pattern is a random world drop, so finding a crafter may be quite difficult early on. And while they are clearly the best pre-raid bracers, I might suggest you'd save your gold and wait for the High King Mulgore bracers from Grill's Lair. Second best option are the Shard Bound bracers from Ogrilla Exalted Rep. Now while they are the next pre-raid option, by the time you've earned Exalted they're probably not worth equipping anymore. Next up we've got Primal Strike bracers. This is the Leatherworking Elemental Leatherworking Specialization armor. It's available only to leatherworkers. And finally we've got the Fellstalker bracers, which is a leatherworking crafted BOE. We're moving on to the hand slot. Short and sweet with this one. The Fell Leather Gloves are a crafted leatherworking BOE and are clearly the best pre-raid choice. You'll not replace these until Gauntlets of Martial Perfection from Grill's Lair. In second place, if available, the Rage Steel Blacksmith and BOE gloves are also a decent option for blacksmiths to pair with the shoulders for the set bonus. We're on to the belt slot, and like the gloves there's not much choice worth considering here. The Girdle of the Death Dealer drops from Heroic Black Morass and is your best pre-raid choice and should not be replaced until you have one of the 25-man drops. The Death Forge Girdle from Sethic Halls is a very close second place in terms of DPS value. It's obviously much easier to farm, so this will be the most popular pre-raid choice. And a special mention for the Girdle of the Mentor from Nax. It is the next best choice, and it's only marginally behind. There's no need to replace this prior to 25-man drops, really. Okay, now we're going to take a look at a nice pair of legs. The best pre-raid legs are the Fell Leather Leggings. Like the gloves, these are incredible, with a ton of pure DPS stats. You're not going to need to replace these until Skulker's Leggings from Netherspite in Karazhan, which are only a minor upgrade, the Scaled Greaves of the Marksman from the World Boss Doomlord Kazak, or one of the Tier 5 raid drops. In second place, the Midnight Leggards from Heroic Slave Pens. This is a very attractive option given they offer almost identical DPS value to the Fell Leather with the addition of 30 extra stamina. Next up we have the Vanquisher's leg plates from Heroic Mechana. These are decent, but they fall clearly behind the previous two options, so there's not much reason to pursue them. And finally, as an honourable mention, we have the Clefttooth Hide Leggings. These are a reward for the Showdown quest in the Blade's Edge Mountains, one of the few items in the early game to offer expertise. That said, they're roughly equal in DPS value to the previous option. Okay, let's take a look at some boots. Fell Leather Boots, Leatherworking BOE. Again, the Fell Leather is leading the pack, and these are the best boots available pre-raid with a ton of pure DPS stat. And indeed, these are also marginally the best boots in all of tier 4 content. In second place, we've got the Vortex Walk-In Boots. They require Exalted Reputation with Orgrilla, so they're likely to be outdated by the time you've earned the rep. Finally, we've got the Shatari Route Greaves. It's a decent, easy to pick up plate option, a reward from the Shadow Labs quest Into the Heart of the Labyrinth. And now we're moving on to the rings, and things start to become a little bit sweaty. The best pre-raid ring is Shafar's Band of Brutality, which drops from Yor in Heroic Mana Tombs. However, Yor is an optional summoned boss that requires some additional effort on your part, an explanation that is too long to fit into this video, so I'll leave that down to you. The next best ring is the Band of Unnatural Forces from Lotheb in Naxxramas. If you don't have access to this ring, the Karazhan drops are slightly better, and the next ring in the list is only slightly worse. The Ring of Arathi Warlords. It costs 25 badges, offers very nearly the same DPS value as the previous option, but with the addition of 24 stamina. And while it may not be your first choice to spend badges on, it is a pretty solid early choice for a ring. Overseer's Signet is the next choice, and it's a reward for the shutting down Manaforge Ara quest in Netherstorm, offering a superior DPS stats to several heroic dungeon and even epic reputation rewards. A few honourable mentions include the Reaver's Ring from Hellfire Ramparts Heroic, Adal's Command from Exalted Shatari Reputation, Kaylan's Signet from the Death Blow to the Legion quest in the Shadowmoon Valley, and the Shapeshifter's Signet from the Lower City Exalted Rep. However, all of these rings are inferior to the previous options. We're getting to the juicy bits now. Trinkets. There are only a few trinkets that you're seriously going to be considering for pre-raid. Bloodlust Brooch costs 41 badges and is your highest priority to spend badges on. Providing 72 attack power and an on use of 278 attack power for 20 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown, this is the best pre-raid trinket, and a trinket that will remain useful for a long time. Next up we've got the Hourglass of the Unraveler from Black Morass on normal mode, offering 32 crit and a chance on critical hit to proc 300 attack power for 10 seconds with a 45 second internal cooldown. Uptime will vary situationally, but I've seen numbers between 12 and 15%. If we take a crawl back on memory lane, I farmed this trinket in 2007 all the way to Exalted before I looted the trinket. I saw it drop once, and a Feral Druid won the roll, and then I was Exalted and it dropped. That said, it is an easily farmable trinket from a normal dungeon, so you should be okay. And finally we've got the Dark Moon card Crusade from the Blessings deck. After a ramp up period, the trinket provides 120 passive attack power while the buff is maintained, lasting 10 seconds but refreshing with each hit. This is definitely another great pre-raid trinket, and it's competing really with the Hourglass of the Unraveler. I personally prefer the Hourglass, but you're not going to go wrong with either. And for trinkets, that's pretty much it. These are the ones you're going into raid progression with. The other trinkets are meh. Moving on to the range slot, and there's only one real option. Mama's Insurance is a green quality reward from the Declawing Doomclaw quest in Netherstorm. Providing an exceptional amount of DPS stats, it's second only to the Sunfury Bow of the Phoenix from Prince Malchezaar and the Battleblade Long Rifle from the world boss Doomwalker. Just to hit home how good this gun is for Fury, even among the tier 5 range slot drops, only the Serpent Spine Longbow from Lady Vash is superior. So we've finally arrived at weapons. Without considering raid drops, there are only slim pickings, but we still have a lot to discuss. So I mentioned earlier how we were more interested in the weaponsmithing specialization from blacksmith profession, and in particular Hammersmith. Dragonmaw is the stage 2 Hammersmith one-handed weapon, requiring primal nethers from heroic dungeons to upgrade from the Drakefist hammer. Aside from a 2.7 speed and 91.1 DPS, it has a chance to proc 212 haste rating for 10 seconds, with a very generous uptime. This makes Dragonmaw the strongest main hand weapon at a tier 4 content level. And looking forward into tier 5, Dragonmaw is upgraded into Dragon Strike by combining it with 5 Nether Vortex, making it arguably the strongest weapon in the game prior to Warglaives or the Season 3 PvP weapons. Originally, Dragon Strike was a main hand only weapon, but it was later converted into a one hand and allowed to be dual wielded. It remains to be seen if this will be the case on Classic. However, when dual wielded, the offhand buff procs simply overwrite the previous buffs and they don't stack. So while it does increase the overall uptime, dual wielding the weapon is not the ideal setup. And next up, the Black Planar Edge. Due to the Orc's expertise ratio providing 5 expertise while using an axe, the axe smithing Black Planar Edge is a genuine competitive option for Orcs. That said, the weapon does not synergize with Recklessness in the same way Dragon Strike does with the Haste proc, and I feel the biggest DPS opportunities will always come from wielding a Dragon Strike in the main hand. Either way, if dual wielding the blacksmithing weapons is possible on Classic TBC, the Wicked Edge of the Plains, the stage 3 version of the axe, would be a very decent option for Orcs prior to tier 6. The biggest turn off for axesmithing perhaps is that even as an Orc, Storm Herald rules in PvP, and only Hammersmiths can wield Storm Herald. So with all that said, even as an Orc, if you're going to take weaponsmithing, you should be a Hammersmith. Now for the non-weaponsmithing options. The Blade Fist from Shattered Halls Heroic is the best pre-raid non-crafted weapon, offering something like a weaker Dragonmaw experience, proccing 180 haste for 10 seconds. Though I do think I'd find it hard to convince anyone to farm this dungeon, when you can go into Karazhan and just get better. Another great easy choice is the Vindicator's Brand, a reward for achieving Exalted with the Aldor. If you choose Aldor, this is a great easy option since you'll be pushing for Exalted as soon as possible anyway, and while it isn't likely to last you very long, it will get you through Karazhan. Then there are a number of items such as the Fell Edge Battle Axe, the Runic Hammer, Blink Strike, all decent pre-raid options, but they're replaced so quickly in Karazhan that it's hard to recommend you pay the gold. If you don't have a blacksmithing weapon, then just pick up the best dungeon blow you can find and get yourself into Karazhan and loot the real weapon, like Fool's Bane or the Decapitator. And that's it, the full gear set. But we're not quite done yet. I'm going to quickly go over the gems and enchants. So before we talk about gems, I'm going to assume you're going to be using the standard blue quality crafted gems. And while there are slightly higher quality unique epic gems that drop from some of the heroic dungeons, these will be slow to acquire and perhaps more suited to discussion around the full tier 4 besting slot. For the meta gem, you want a relentless earthstorm diamond, offering 12 agility and 3% critical strike damage, requiring 2 of each primary gem colour to activate. For red sockets, you're going to be using the Bold Living Ruby, providing 8 strength. This is your primary gem choice once you've met the requirements to activate the meta socket and when socket bonuses from other colours aren't worthwhile. Dual crafters can also use 1 Crimson Sun for 24 attack power. For yellow sockets, you're going to want to use the Inscribed Noble Topaz for 4 strength and 4 crit. You'll need at least 2 of these in your set to activate the meta. Any further will only be used to activate valuable socket bonuses. You will also need 2 blue gems, the Sovereign Nightside providing 4 strength and 6 stamina being the ideal choice. So let's take a look at some weapon enchants. Crusader will remain a valuable option in TBC, however at level 70 it will only provide 60 strength rather than 100. Due to ease of availability, Crusader should remain the popular choice in early TBC. The other and more expensive option is Potency, which gives a permanent 20 strength. With Mongoose being a drop from Morrows in Karazhan, it would not likely be immediately available to us at launch, and with it being quite expensive, we will likely want to wait until we have a worthwhile weapon. Mongoose offers 120 agility and 2% attack speed. For clarification on the blacksmithing weapons, when you upgrade Drakefist Hammer to Dragonmaw, the enchant will not carry over. Each time you upgrade, you will need a new enchant. I recommend you use Crusader on Drakefist Hammer and then consider Mongoose for Dragonmaw. For enchanters specifically, they can also enchant their rings to give +4 stats. Perhaps more interesting is that during TBC, the enchants would remain active even if you drop the enchanting profession, though this could be something Blizzard will move to change for Classic TBC. Moving on to shoulder enchants, and it's a choice between Aldor and Scryer. Realistically speaking, these enchants are effectively identical in value, with Scryer perhaps having the edge early on, but since all of our big glory pulls will include the use of recklessness, it definitely moves the favour towards the additional attack power from Aldor. Combined with access to an easy pre-raid epic weapon, it has always been my pick of the two. For the boot enchant, I recommend Cat Swiftness, 6 agility and a minor movement speed increase. Any situation where movement is required, this enchant offers both a DPS and survival bonus, while 12 agility remains the top choice on stationary fights. All the other enchants are pretty straightforward and I will just list them here. And that is us done. Finished. I hope you guys have a blast in TBC. I hope to see you out there on my warrior. If you enjoyed the video, you can press all the things if you want. Maybe I will put out another video sometime. This thing took me bloody ages to put together, to be honest. But maybe we can take a look at tier 4 or tier 5 in the future. Any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and have a great day. Bye!